Before we go any further, have you subscribed yet? No? Okay. I'll wait. There you go. All right. Let's begin. Everybody, and welcome to Aaliyah C TV. I know it's been a while. Life. A lot has been going on, and honestly, with the climate of what's going on, I should be doing weekly videos still, because now is a time to definitely push and inform and acknowledge our history so that we can move forward, because if we don't know where we've been, we don't know how we're going to move forward, you know what I'm saying, our future. Today's video will be about the origins of the Negro. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about that. So today's information will come from The Broader Files. It's a book by Anthony Broader, who I have also purchased my timeline that I do most of my lessons from. I want to talk about Negro and the origins of the word Negro today. This is literally the first chapter that I'm in, and I was like, oh, I have to do a video about this. So he was touching on, you know, of course, where it came from, how it started. So the Portuguese were the first to own slaves, well, enslaved individuals from Africa. And they were the first people to call African Americans, black people, African people, Negroes. Negro is an adjective that means black in Portuguese and Spanish. Since 1444, the legitimate name for newly enslaved people was Negro. That was literally where it stems from. And he made a great point, how Asians are from Asia, Europeans are from Europe, and I guess Negroes are supposed to be from what? Negroland? Right, that doesn't exist. So a big part in them detaching us from who we were was taking away our name, taking away our rights. And that's where that starts. Portuguese and Spanish language derived from Latin, which was also came from the origins of classical Greece. So remember that. Portuguese and Spanish derive from Latin, which have origins in classical Greece, right? So in Europe, in European languages, black was typically associated with death. The word death derived from Greece's word negro. Negro means dead. Throughout European history, words negro and negro were used in reference to being physically, spiritually, and mentally dead, as in a place being dead or a thing being dead. The Greeks first traveled to Africa over 2,500 years ago, and before they even got to Africa, the European civilization was already ancient. The Great Pyramids were already over 3,000 years old before they even got there. And keep in mind, the Greeks traveled to Africa as students. They were students to the masters of knowledge in medicine, writing, science, religion, all that they were going to learn from the African people. And as just like any teacher, you can only teach a student as far as to what their understanding is. So a lot of things as far as their understanding got misconstrued, as like, for example, religion. Back in this time and today still, Africans had the practice of magnifying and praising and communicating with their ancestors. And for the Greeks, they were like, I don't understand this. So for them, they communicated it as people were praising the dead. No, Africans saw it as praising the living spirits in your ancestral plane. But they, of course, because they're Greeks and they don't connect to that on a certain level, they could only see it from where they were at. So they thought that we celebrated the dead. I ask, okay, why were the Africans acknowledging their ancestors? They acknowledged their ancestors and worshiped them because they were people that lived before them. So they feel like those ancestors have the ability to guide and help provide them direction in their living, which rings true today. Like your grandma, your great-grandma, they prayed for us. They've been praying for us before we were even here. So of course, if you're a spiritual person, that can resonate with you, and you would understand how worshiping and praying with and to your ancestors can give you direction in life. Because Egyptians and other Africans, they understood that there is life beyond present day, and the Greeks just couldn't grasp that because that just wasn't a part of their culture. which caused some discourse and miscommunication when they got back to Greece. So 300 years after they came as students, Greek children from those people that were their students came back as conquerors, and they destroyed cities, temples, villages. They killed and massacred, you know, hundreds of thousands. I'm sure it's probably millions of people. I don't know the exact number, but essentially they came and they stole African culture, but they stole it through their lens. So a lot of things that are taught through their lens is incorrect because they couldn't connect to what the real meaning of things were for us, because it's not where they were. And shortly after they came in and stole our culture, our way of living, our knowledge of science, writing, medicine, and religion, they came back and they stole us as a people. And that's where the transatlantic slavery process began. Well, one of the different parts of it. Like I said earlier, the Portuguese were the first to own enslaved Africans, and then I guess the Greece came shortly after that. So that is the background around the original Negro. And after reading this, I was a consistent user of nigga, but mostly just with my friends. Like, I wouldn't just say it out in public and stuff. But he made a great point. He was saying that once you learn this knowledge and become a certain level of consciousness, you can't go back and do those old things after you learn these new things, because the nigga in you and then the queen or king in you cannot coexist. You have to pick. So now I'm going to intentionally not use that word, especially because I've learned the origins, and that it literally means an individual that's mentally, physically dead, which makes sense. I don't want to use it. So that's a choice that you'll have to make for yourself as well. I mean, I'm not down on anyone that does, but after learning and knowing what I know, I can't continue to use it. So I hope you all learned something today. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, this information all came from the Broader Files. It's a book composed of 22 essays on the African American experience. These essays were originally a part of a newspaper that Anthony Broader wrote for, I think it was like in the 1980s, years ago, and then he decided to make it into a book. I'm excited to read the rest of it. And that's this week's lesson, and I hope you guys learned something. Bye.